Thank you for watching QTV with News. My name is Diana Sumbwe. We take a look at stories making headlines. President Edgar Lungu says he will not fire Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotula, who was on Wednesday arrested for corruption. Former President Rupiah Banda has called for an end to the spread of lies about Zambia's economy being bleak. And now, details in our news. President Edgar Lungu says he will not fire Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotula, who was on Wednesday arrested for corruption. President Lungu has told those who are calling upon him to relieve Mr. Chitotula of his duties to give him space, adding that as far as he is concerned, Mr. Chitotula is innocent until proven guilty. Speaking shortly before departure for Ethiopia to attend the African Union 32nd Ordinary Session of the Heads of State and Government Summit, President Lungu said this is how the rule of law works. President Lungu states that he does not want to lose Mr. Chitotula in the similar manner that he fired the then Minister of Information and Broadcasting Services, Chishimba Kambwili. He says he will, however, let those who have brought allegations against Mr. Chitotula to prove their allegations in the courts of law. The head of state says he will also give the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC leeway to investigate Mr. Chitotula. He states that he will in fact fund the Anti-Corruption Commission to carry out its operations, but that he will not interfere in the investigation.
I will give them leeway to investigate and arrest, bring to court culprits, but I won't interfere. I will even fund them to do their operations. But those who are calling for the removal of Honorable Chitotula now, I say, no, give me space, please. But don't interfere with the process. Bring your evidence and let him also have it there in court. That's what justice, and I'm a lawyer. And if you look at the Bill of Rights, I think Article 18 starts with the presumption of innocence. So as far as I'm concerned, he's innocent. As far as I'm concerned, even Chishimba Kambwili is innocent. But look at where Chishimba Kambwili is. No, Lungu is fighting Chishimba Kambwili, Lungu is... I've never fought Chishimba Kambwili. What I had was a report from the law enforcement agents that Chishimba has done 1, 2, 3 wrongs. We're investigating him. But many others, I said, go ahead. And they went ahead. At a certain point they came, they said, we can't get anything, no cooperation from him. And I said, what do I do? In my wisdom, I removed him from office. Having removed him from office, the rest is history. He pledged to work with us. The next thing he was saying, I'm corrupt. I don't care what has happened, but what I'm saying is, having lost Chishimba Kambwili through an allegation of corruption by the same forces, don't want to lose Chitotula in the same manner. I'm saying, may Chishimba Kambwili find justice, may Chitotula find justice, may all those who are alleged to be corrupt find justice. That's how the rule of law works. The precept, one of the precepts of law is there's no one above the law, right? When the police feel like investigating you, they'll investigate you. When they feel like coming to your home at night to search, they'll search. And I can't tell them, go and search Tom Njobu's home, go and search that girl's home. It's not in my mandate. So let us not politicize the fight against corruption.
Former President Rupiah Banda has called for an end to the spread of lies about Zambia's economy being bleak. Mr. Banda says lies such as Zambia losing national assets owing to the foreign debt it owes are capable of destroying the country's image abroad. He says the country is in fact capable of paying back its debt as it is within its borrowing limits. Mr. Banda, who is Zambia's 4th Republican president, says the Zambian economy is positive and undergoing a normal economic process. He has, however, noted the need to find solutions to problems persisting in the country's agriculture, mining and manufacturing sectors. The former Republican president has also observed the need to interrogate why Zambia is being visited by fewer tourists despite being endowed with the immense tourism sites. He was speaking in Johannesburg, South Africa, in transit to Nigeria, where he will lead a team of observers to monitor that country's presidential and parliamentary elections due this month. And Mr. Banda has called on African countries to give support to the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, in order to maintain peace in that country. He has observed that the recent elections in DRC demonstrated that there is a deepening democracy in Africa. This is contained in a statement made available to Q News by First Secretary for Press and Public Relations in the Zambian mission in South Africa, Naomi Nyawali. The Law Association of Zambia Laws says the report of the Human Rights Commission of the UNZA unrest of October 2018, in which a student, Vespers Shimunzira, died after suffocating, should be taken seriously. LAS President Eddie Mwitwa says the investigation conducted by the Commission has shed some light on what caused Vespa's death. Mr. Mwitwa states that LAS therefore hopes that the state will move with urgency in its investigation into Vespa's death. In an interview with Q News, Mr. Mwitwa says LAS finds it worrying that investigations into what caused Vespa's death have taken longer than expected. She says LAS does not know what else is left to investigate given the passage of time since her death. Mr. Mwitwa has also reiterated LAS stands by its earlier pledge to render legal assistance to Vespa's family.
The report from the Human Rights Commission is obviously one that should be taken seriously. If there's any doubt, I think, in any quarter of our society as to what may have happened, that report surely should shed some light on those doubts. And we hope that the state will move, with the agency that this issue requires. We don't know what else there is to investigate, given the passage of time. But as the Law Association of Zambia, we did publicly pledge to the family of Vespas, the late Vespas, that should they need any legal assistance, we'll stand ready to assist. As I speak now, I don't think we have been approached by the family to provide that assistance. But if they ever do feel the need to seek our help, we stand ready to assist them.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mwitwa has clarified that LAS has no role in the purported use of the national dialogue as a means to foster regime change in the country. He says his association has not in fact been invited to be part of the dialogue process and has not yet taken a position on what role it can play. Mr. Mwitwa explains that the meeting that was held at LAS Secretariat by the Opposition Alliance and 4 other political parties was at the request of 2 LAS members.
I can state categorically that we have no role or agenda in the so-called the intended regime change. But if I can hazard a guess, I'm sure what the people who have coined that phrase are referring to, opposition winning elections in 2021. So we have no role to play in that whatsoever. Yeah, and regarding the meeting that was held by the opposition political parties at the LAS Secretariat, the request was made by one of our members, State Council Sakwiwa Skota, and I believe Mr. Winter Kavimba and State Council Chifumu Banda. Those are LAS members. And then when they requested to use the LAS boardroom for a meeting, I personally did not see anything wrong with that. So we permitted them, not knowing what the agenda was, and we were also not invited to be in that meeting. All we did was to facilitate because we understood that
the UPND says it has reason to believe that Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chitotela could not be the only one corrupt in the Patriotic Front government. UPND President Hakainde Hichilema says his party suspects it is the entire Patriotic Front regime that is allegedly rotten to the core and requires a massive cleanup and total overhaul. Mr. Hichilema says this is why the UPND has consistently told the nation about the ongoing corruption in the country, which the Patriotic Front government has, however, been denying. He states that his party is thus left to conclude that the alleged massive corruption in the Patriotic Front government could be the reason why meal allowances at public universities have also been scrapped off. In a statement to Q News, Mr. Hichilema notes that his party did, however, predict and warn Zambians that the Patriotic Front government would economically bankrupt the country through corruption. Mr. Hichilema says the UPND's concern, on the other hand, is that the decision to abolish the meal allowances for students has far-reaching consequences to the individual students. He says this is because with this decision, youths are now consigned to evil vices for them to raise money to buy food and other necessities while at universities. Government has justified its decision for the Zambian National Broadcasting Corporation ZNBC to be regulated by the Independent Broadcasting Authority IBA like other broadcasting stations. Information and Broadcasting Services Permanent Secretary Chanda Kasolo says that government no longer wants to involve itself in correcting mistakes that ZNBC makes in its operations. Mr. Kasolo says government wants the role that the Information and Broadcasting Services Permanent Secretary plays in the national broadcaster to be left in the hands of the IBA. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Kasolo says his ministry will therefore make the necessary proposals to amend both the IBA and the ZNBC Acts. He states that once these amendments have been made and passed by Parliament, government will only deal with the IBA if ZNBC is found wanting.
At the moment, the IBA works to regulate all media houses, TV, radio, but not ZNBC. And we feel it is an anomaly. We need the ZNBC to be on the same footing that IBA has control. In the past, when ZNBC has made mistakes, it has taken the PS at the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to step in, but we don't need that. We want the IBA to be the regulator so that we're not involved at that end, unless, of course, IBA fails to do its job, in which case we would jump on IBA.
Preliminary findings of the 2015 to 2017 National AIDS Spending Assessment (NASA) for Zambia have shown that funding towards HIV prevention stood at $450 million in 2017, with the President's Emergency Funds for AIDS Relief (PEPFAR) being the major funder. The findings also indicates that funding towards TB prevention was $17 million. Speaking during the presentation of the findings, NASA consultant Teresa Gauthier disclosed that the funds were used for prevention, treatment, and care as research, among others. And United States Agency for International Development UNAIDS Country Director Medhin Sehu has recognized the need for stakeholders to focus on key priorities by putting in place deliberate strategies aimed at reaching locations and populations mostly affected by the epidemic if the vision of ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030 is to be attained. Speaking at the stakeholders validation meeting of the Zambia National AIDS Spending Assessment (NASA), Dr. Thao said though there are no shortcuts to ending AIDS, there is need for right-based and evidence-informed comprehensive tools to ensure true universal access to HIV services. To fast-track the response is key. Dr. Thao says to ensure true universal access HIV services to fast-track the response, there is need for right-based and evidence-informed comprehensive tools.
There has been a gap in between 2012 and the one that we have now. I hope the NASA will be fully institutionalized, as PS was alluding to it, and conducted every 2 years to inform policy decisions. I wish to reiterate that the NASA is just a tool, and it can only be effective in guiding our national response if we as stakeholders accept and use the finding for improved decision making. I have been informed on the potential of the government integrated IFMIS, again PS alluded to it, to generate health expenditure data, and this is very encouraging as we continue to the discussion around sustainability. The Health Management Information System is another platform that can be explored, as well as the National AIDS Council Management Information System, NACMIS. Let me take this opportunity to thank the leadership of the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, National AIDS Council, the Global Fund Grant.
Speaking at the same event, National AIDS Council Director Policy and Planning John Mwale has revealed that public contribution has increased from 6% to 8%.
That, and when you look at the picture across the region, I'll give an example of South Africa, whose picture is almost the same as ours. Because South Africa's national response budget is 63% of their budget is actually, towards HIV treatment. And over the years, they've been improving in terms of HIV prevention. Our picture shows that 26% of the response, resources in the response are actually under prevention. When you look at our current Global Fund implementation, Dr. Kaonga will agree with me that even there, out of the over $260 million from Global Fund, about 62% or so is actually applied under the treatment thematic area, while about 28% of that funding is actually under prevention. So really we are doing fine as a country in this area, and I think it's important that we continue to do that. Health system strengthening, it's important that we actually continue investing in these systems.
Speaking and officiating at the event, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary for Technical Services, Dr. Kennedy Malama, said government will embrace the National AIDS Spending Analysis Principles.
You are aware that already for the COP 2019, Zambia is being assured of $400 million support to the HIV/TB response, and this is commendable. The government of the Republic of Zambia, under the leadership of His Excellency Mr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, has placed premium on human development, and the HIV response, TB response is speaking to that. Let me also mention that as we move as a country, we need to pay particular attention to the results coming out of works like the NASA. And it's clear that the NASA actually can be adapted to the Zambian situation even further and integrated into the existing systems, so that in the coming future, instead of having a NASA as a standalone platform, is it possible to start interrogating as a country so that it becomes part of our routine application of tools to assess on how our financials are coming in and are being expended. We already have the comparative advantage as a country. We have certain financial systems we are rolling out, for instance, the IFMIS, Integrated Financial Management Information Systems, and we are also rolling out Navision. So moving forward, we need to start thinking, how can the NASA platform, of course in consultation with UNAIDS and other partners, be integrated into our routine work as a
The Media Institute of Southern Africa, MISA, has condemned the storming of United Voice Radio in Lusaka by MMD cadres during a live broadcast on Wednesday. The MMD diehard cadres are reported to have stormed the radio station to complain that Nervous Mumba, who was being featured on a program, is not the MMD president. MISA Zambia Vice Chairperson Hyde Haguta says his institute also condemns in the strongest terms the verbal attacks on Prime TV and Zambian Star newspaper reporters on Sunday by PF cadres in Mazabuka. Mr. Haguta has reminded MMD and Patriotic Front cadres that the media is a stakeholder in national development and therefore should be allowed to carry out its duties without fear of attacks or intimidation. In a statement to Q News, Mr. Haguta has called on both the Patriotic Front and MMD to put their houses in order and counsel their respective cadres to refrain from attacking the media. Mr. Haguta has further reminded journalists in the country to always report and called for acts against them by political cadres to the police so that such culprits can be brought to book.
But when you see this perpetuation of violence against journalists from the private media, and indeed sometimes also from the other persons who want to express their freedom of expression, we get really concerned as MISA Zambia. We therefore want to condemn in strongest sense and terms the attack on the journalists in Mazabuka, Prime TV and Star newspaper, and also the instance yesterday where cadres, or whatever they are, were hired and taken to United Voice radio station to go and attack Dr. Nervous Mumba to get him out of the radio station. We feel that this is unbecoming. And we want to appeal again to the government of the day that the media is a partner in development to this country, and they should be given latitude and space also to carry out their duties. There can be no development in a place or in a country where media has no space. Anything that citizens would like to know about a country, about the government, agenda for development is advanced through the media. And when the media is twisted, they cannot freely participate in their work, they cannot give information, they're intimidated, then the whole process comes to a standstill. We appeal once again. Can we have this come to an end? I think we've talked enough and we always condemn this, but we feel that sometimes this is enough and it's too much of it.
The ban on the manufacturing of the natural power energy drink is expected to be lifted within the next 2 weeks. Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Christopher Eluma says investigations by the Zambia Bureau of Standards have revealed that the energy drink contains traces of sextet boosters, which he says have to be corrected before the ban is completely lifted. Speaking at a media briefing, Mr. Eluma has since advised ZABS and other relevant bodies to ensure that in future they carry out consultations with various stakeholders before they take any action on institutions that fall under their jurisdiction. Mr. Eluma says Raven Zambia Limited, a company located in Ndola, the manufacturers of the power energy drink, will continue with the manufacturing of other products until the investigations of the energy drink are concluded.
I'll tell you one thing, this hinges around, the health of the public, of the people of Zambia. And it's not something you can take easily and walk along with it and make, decisions without having taken serious, investigations to just see on what went wrong and also look at what would be the ramification of us going without having done proper, thorough investigation by bringing that, that product online. Yesterday, I'd like to tell you there's no conflict or confusion between Ministry of Health and us. Ministry of Health, they've got their defined scope of mandate. Their mandate is to look at the health of the people through Public Health Act. We look at the quality, we certify the quality when it's produced. So as to see exactly what went into that drink, which is prohibited or not complying to the requirements of the Medicine Control Board, that is purely a Minister of Health.
Minister of Finance Margaret Mwanakatwe says government is ensuring that it fully engages the public before the implementation date of the Goods and Services Tax. Mrs. Mwanakatwe says the introduction of the Goods and Services Tax on 1st April 2019 will eliminate the unsustainable and laborious process of value-added tax VAT refunds. She was speaking when the Zambian delegation toured mining sector exhibition stands at the ongoing 2019 Mining Indaba in Cape Town, South Africa. Among the Zambian stands visited were those of the Copperbelt Energy Corporation, the Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines Investment Holdings, Konkola Copper Mines and the Ministry of Mines. During the Mining Indaba, the Zambian delegation attended various sessions and held country promotion side events at which economic policies and programs were explained. And Mrs. Mwanakatwe has described the Indaba as a good platform for investment promotion. She has also called on the public and private sectors to strengthen their partnerships in developing Zambia and marketing the country's wealth creation. Mrs. Mwanakatwe has since returned to Lusaka. Professional Insurance Corporation Zambia has appealed to government to make fire insurance a mandatory cover. Professional Insurance Corporation Managing Director Moses Siame says making fire insurance a mandatory cover will help keep the wheels of commerce turning, as it will allow one to get business up and running in the shortest possible time after a fire. Mr. Siame adds that making fire insurance a mandatory cover will also safeguard individual house owners to rebuild and not lose out completely. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by Company Chief Operations Officer Yvonne Bola during the official handover of the claim check to Mr. John Mwale of Chilenje, whose house burnt down in November last year. And Mr. Mwale has thanked Professional Insurance for its quick compensation of his over 357,000 claim. The opposition UPND has accused the government of lying to the nation that a total of 98,738 farmers have successfully redeemed farming inputs under the e-voucher system. UPND chairperson for Rural Reconstruction Mono Mapani says contrary to what government has announced, his party established that not all farmers have redeemed inputs. Mr. Mapani states that his party has been to areas like Namwala where some farmers complained that they had not received fertilizer. He has disclosed to QTV News in places like Kawe The UPND actually found that only farmers that support the ruling Patriotic Front have been able to redeem farming imports. Mr. Mapani states that his party is therefore left to wonder on whom did the government spend the 540 million kwacha, which it was announced was used to pay agro dealers under e-voucher system.
You were telling people that your target was 1 million. Believe me not, and I want to challenge the minister and his ministry to go around and see whether everyone who paid the 400 received the money, received the imports. It's to the contrary. And this kind of behavior should not be tolerated. I've challenged you. I've mentioned 2 places just to sample and go and see what's happening. Those who are giving fertilizer in Munyama, they even said only the Patriotic Front will get fertilizer. And that's what is happening. But the question is it only the Patriotic Front who have paid the 400s? If the answer is not, why do we have to treat other citizens as second-class citizens? Why should political affiliation be the only savior for anyone to be called a Zambian? I think let's sail above board and take what I've issued seriously and see how we have treated some people.
The Islamic Supreme Council of Zambia has spoken out strongly against any temptation to use of taxpayers' money to hold the national dialogue process by government. Council President Suzio Zimba says the dialogue does not require any funding from government. Mr. Zimba says unfolding events from the dialogue process so far indicate that the process is bound to fail.
You see, when there are no confusions in a country and you create confusions thinking that that's the only way, look, the only thing that is not working for this country is we always have problems after elections. Are you aware? And those are, as long as we, for as long as we do not resolve issues surrounding elections, we will continue being enemies of each other. And that is where I see that churches and other people have come together. But look, even before that, the church, the ZCID people cannot sit as a team. They don't want to sit to resolve matters. So there's just confusion everywhere, and I hope that the people that are behind championing that should realize that the route that they are taking, you know, is not accepted by God. Any route that is good, look, any route, if you are to undertake any journey, a route you take, if you have to be successful at the end of the day, it will show. But what I'm seeing, the confusion, will not even achieve anything. And my appeal to the government is that this thing, they should not even allocate any money. Dialogue does not require that the government allocates money. No money should be allocated to this dialogue. If there will be dialogue, so someone wants to go for that dialogue thing, it is purely from their own pocket.
Minister of Youth, Sport and Child Development Permanent Secretary Joe Kapembwa has encouraged youth to learn to mobilize resources on their own. Speaking during the launch of the 2019 theme of the African Youth and Governance 11th General Assembly in Lusaka, Mr. Kapembwa says youth leaders need to become agents of change within their respective communities and countries. Mr. Kapembwa states that government is, however, committed to ensuring that the youth are well-trained and capable of future leaders.
I am pleased to learn that since 2009, the African Youth and Governance Conference has been active in promoting the leadership grooming program for the African youth and those from the diaspora through mentorship, community impact, networking, and exchange programs. Through these programs, the youths are encouraged to pool their knowledge and resources to transform our continent from one of high dependency on other continents to one which can support and sustain its own development. We are a growing continent. We not only have the numbers, we have a youthful population with the energy, the potential, and zeal to work hard. While this is the case, this convention is designed to see how we can create an environment where these youths can take up the challenge and mentor to make a difference. It is also meant to create a youth leadership with a vision, right mindset, and a commitment to good governance.
Speaking at the same launch, Ghanaian High Commissioner Margaret Ekua-Pra observed the need to create the jobs for youths given their population on the continent.
It's up to you now, and I congratulate you. You're doing what it takes. If Kwame Nkrumah was here, he would wave his white handkerchief and cheer you on. Julius Nyerere will cheer you on. Jomo Kenyatta will cheer you on. Patrice Lumumba, who was killed. And you see, the history is not taught. He was killed, you know. And do you know why he was killed? He was killed exactly for the same reason that DR Congo right now has not had peace, because of the minerals. Now, Africa is the richest continent on earth. Don't kid yourself about it. And that's why everybody else would like us to be way down there so that they can take what they can take. We don't deserve this, but we have to have the confidence to say enough. Enough. We have to have the confidence, like my president said 2 days ago in Cape Town. We are not going to allow you to take our minerals for free with tax breaks.
And Executive Director of Youth Bridge Foundation Setho Teng says the need to invest in the youth cannot be postponed, but rather needs to be done now.
The initiative is a leadership grooming program. It's not an elitist program. We're seated here because we want to prepare the youth to sit in parliaments, UN, AU, and international platforms to negotiate and not to be intimidated. They don't have to be at places where they've never had exposure, they've never been trained. So for us, it is about giving the youth the opportunity. I want to give you, I'll be very brief, and I want to give you highlights of the AYGC. Is it ready? Okay, so I'm told the video is not ready. When you look around the room, I think behind you, you realize that the initiative started 2009, and we have all the themes built up. So maybe during the coffee break behind you, you see all the themes for the 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 through. We've created platforms for the youth to be trained, to be groomed, coached, mentored.
Zambia Airports Corporation Limited, ZACL, recorded a total of over 1.9 million passenger movements in 2018. ZACL Communications and Brand Manager Mwembe Sikaulu says this is for the Kenneth Kaunda, Harry Mwanga Nkumbula, Simon Mwanza-Kapwepwe and Fue International Airports. Ms. Sikaulu says out of the over 1.9 million passenger movements, 374,479 were for domestic passengers, while the remaining over 1.5 million were for international flights. She has told Q News in a statement that the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport was the best performing airport. Ms. Sikaulu states that the airport handled 70% of total general passenger movements in 2018. She notes that Simon Mwanza-Kapwepwe and Harry Mwanga Nkumbula International Airports handled 15% and 13% of total passengers respectively. And Ms. Kaulu states that Mfue International Airport was at the least after carrying only 2% of the total traffic. A civic leader in Lusaka's Monali Ward 33 has expressed disappointment with the people who are deterring the development of the area. Councillor Sylvester Mlenga is disappointed that people are already dumping garbage in the new drains which are yet to be completed. Mr. Mlenga has told QTV News that the people behind such acts are forgetting that the drainages are being built as a way of creating a conducive environment for them. He points to the fact that the area has this rainy season recorded reduced incidents of flooding owing to the drainages that have been constructed on most roads.
And so far, these drainages which I've worked on, plus the other ones which we had worked on earlier in November, somewhere there, as 99% reduced the flooding. It's a more reason why in Kaunda Square Stage 1, we are no longer experiencing flooding like we had experienced previous years. It has really helped us big time. Yeah. Because this is a development which is coming to the people of Kaunda Square for the first time. And you know, it's a cost to the government. Government is pumping a lot of money, and also people are pushing in their resources. So it's very, very important that we need to take care of our own facilities, and these facilities are the ones which are making us, to live in a better environment, to live in a clean environment. And what is saddening, just to emphasize on the same, is that we are cleaning and excavating, desilting, concrete lining these drainages, but at the end of the day, we are shocked to be finding that people are dumping the garbage into these drainages, and that is unfortunate. It's not my drain, it's not government's drain, it's you, the people. Because you are the people of the government, and the government is seeing the need. I saw the need because of your client that we needed a well-coordinated drain system, and the government has moved in.
To end the news, we take a look at stories making headlines. President Edgar Lungu says he will not fire Housing and Infrastructure Development Minister Ronald Chidotila, who was on Wednesday arrested for corruption. And former President Rupia Banda has called for an end to the spread of lies about Zambia's economy being bleak. On that note, we come to the end of the news. From me, Diana Sumbwe. Thank you for watching.